What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Apogee Fitness Podcast, coming to you from the Apogee Therapy Center recording studio. My name is David Carter.
And I am Kevin Harrington. How are you?
Kevin, I'm doing well.
Yes, you're doing well.
The weather.
I still don't like it.
Really? Why?
It's getting better. Last night was good.
In what way is it getting better? As in it's getting cooler?
Yes.
So you don't like 70-degree weather?
No, I don't mind 70-degree weather. I don't. I just don't want to feel like I'm wearing a sweater in the summer.
In the summer? Well, we're not in the summer.
We're not in the
officially
summer.
fall.
No, I know. Still can be a little hot.
The first day of fall was this week, right? Pretty sure it was.
You ever heard of Indian summer?
No. Enlighten me.
We get that a lot in the South.
Oh, is that where the heat comes back?
Yes.
Yeah.
For like about 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. I did see next week it's supposed to be back up in the 80s.
Yep, there you go. Indian summer for you.
That's all right. I'm cool with the 80s. Just as long as we're done with the 90s, I'm good.
I just don't like the humidity.
Yeah. I was working out last night, and we had the garages open over at Crash, and there was some nice airflow, and it felt great. But, yeah, I feel like if I could keep it at the 70s forever.
How many people
I
were
need to move to California. That's where it's at. It's like constantly in the 70s.
How many people were in the room at the time?
There was a lot of people in the room.
Really?
Yeah.
And it still felt cool?
Felt great.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm feeling kind of outnumbered today because I think I'm the only person here who's not from the Electric City.
Well, it's a great place to be from. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. All right. Cool. We've got two special guests today. We have Kaiden Myers and Colin Leonard. What's up, dudes?
How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for making the trek up to Greenville. Well, I mean, Kevin does it every week, so he's.
Yeah, I do it every week. Colin, has anybody ever told you look like a muscular version of Van Gogh?
I have heard and I've seen. Yes, it gets related a lot.
I can see it.
Yeah,
I like Van Gogh, so you know.
I'll decide to keep my ear though.
I don't blame you. I would too.
How's it feel to be electrified while you're talking in that microphone right now?
It's good. It's kind of like a good little sensory deprivation area that we're in right now. I like this.
Yeah, so before we got started on the podcast, Colin stopped by a little bit earlier, and we did a little dry needling. Now he's getting some E-stim right on that hamstring while he's talking. So if he seems like he's kind of messing up, we'll just kind of crank it down a little bit or crank it up. But let's get right into it. Colin, let's start with you, man. First podcast?
First podcast.
Cool. Yeah, we haven't done that in a while.
We haven't been able to do it.
Yeah, and it's nice to have somebody new in here. So, Kaiden, first podcast?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic.
We get two on the same time.
Wow. Lucky night. All right, dude. So let's start with Colin. Since you're older and wiser, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're from Anderson, or at least that's where you live right now. Tell us about your upbringing, where you're from, where you were raised, if it was Anderson. What kind of family life did you have growing up?
All right, yeah. So born in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. Moved with family to Lafayette, Indiana when I was super young, and basically grew up through high school there. And so played all sports, everything you can imagine, you name it. Probably tried it at least for a season. From there, decided that I wanted to play collegiate football, so found some teams, came down, walked on to the football team at Clemson, then turned into a 3-year long snapping starter before I graduated, and then just stayed in the area. Just love the area.
So many long snappers from Clemson in my life right now, because we just hired a kid, Tyler Brown. He just graduated. He was a long snapper over there. One of my good friends, Sam Van Giesen, he was a long snapper probably back in, maybe 2015 era,
yeah,
right around
so
there.
I know Sam. So
You
I
know
actually
Sam?
helped teach Sam through a couple long snapping camps.
Really?
And
And then
that before coming up.
And Sam helped Tyler. That's hilarious. All
I
right.
got a friend of mine whose son is a long snapper. He's a senior this year. He's at what is the Rams? It's not Westside Rams. It's what are the Rams up here in Greenville on Simpsonville? Hillcrest. He's our long snapper, and he's being recruited.
Really?
He's good. He's fast. I mean, I don't know what from the time you snap it to the time it hits a target, but I mean, he's gone to like all those like pre-college camps and everything, and he's come away with like first and seconds and stuff. So it's amazing.
Were you a long snapper in high school?
Yeah, so I started long snapping in high school, and then just met up with a guy that basically was a specialist for that position. And then essentially he helped me get into college and recruiting process and find schools that just need them. And then when I was in college, I actually turned over and helped him start coaching some of the camps. So with that, basically it turned into collegiate career. Then after graduating, it was just help them out, see if we can't get more kids into college.
So how do you explain the position from one standpoint? You're going to long snap it back to the placeholder, and then they're going to, or whoever's kicking the ball apparently. Does it never run in your mind that as soon as I let go of this ball, I've got to get my hands up really quick or I'm going to get run over?
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those where it's the loneliest position on the field because you mess up and everybody knows your name. But you do your job, nobody has a clue who you are. So it was one of the weirdest kind of places to be on the football field because it is so specialized that not a lot of people give it credit for what the skill is.
Right.
So at the same point, yeah, you're snapping the ball 15 yards, but you've also got two guys over the top of you that you've got to be able to pull up to be able to just at least get in front of. But they have protection laws as far as like just if your head's down, you're not allowed to be run over. But as soon as you pull your head up, it's on. You're ready to go.
So what was your quickest time from the time you snapped it to the time it got to the target?
Punt snaps are one of those ones where basically anything under 0.8 seconds for 15 yards as far as a snap from movement to hand on the catch of the punt was considered at least a collegiate level. Most people are going to be going faster than that, especially these days, but you're looking anywhere averages 0.7, like pretty much right on it. You just throw it as hard as you can.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're a high school kid. Is long snapper something that you were like, I want to be a long snapper, or did the coach say you're going to be a long snapper?
No, it was one of those where you kind of figured out early that there was an opportunity to go play college. And for me, it was like, I want to go play D1. And my skill set for defensive end, I wasn't quite big enough, wasn't fast enough, all that stuff. But if you develop the skill set, as long as you've got some size, you can get into college. Like you can get into any college you want to, as long as you have the skill and the times, and all of a sudden, obviously, everything can catch up. So with that was one where we kind of game played the system a little bit early. And then once you develop the skill and just start recruiting yourself out, everybody needs one. And then they don't realize how many people they need for it.
Yeah. So how old are you?
36.
36. So at that point in Lafayette, Indiana, did you even know where Clemson was?
No, not a clue. So it's funny. Knew two things about Clemson. I knew Woody Dantzler and I knew the Hill. I had no clue what state Clemson was in, to be perfectly honest. Even in high school, it was Big Ten area.
Right.
So we grew up right next door to Purdue. Ohio State's always knocking on your door. Notre Dame is an hour and a half away. So, I mean, it's just middle of Big Ten country. That's all we knew.
Yeah, I mean, same. I mean, even when I moved down here in 2015, I mean, at that point, I knew Clemson was in South Carolina, but I couldn't tell you if it was, in the low country, in the upstate. I knew it wasn't in Columbia. I just didn't know exactly. I had no idea how close I was going to be when I first moved here in 2015 to Clemson. That's cool, man. So, Kaiden, let's move to you real quick, buddy. All right, so you, for people who don't know, are the 7th fittest male on planet Earth currently in the 14 to 15-year-old division. How does that feel?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right, so tell me a little bit about yourself when you were growing up. Were you playing sports, or was something like CrossFit introduced to you and then you were like, that's going to be my sport?
I played baseball for 5 years. I tried plenty other sports like before that.
Mm-hmm.
I stuck with baseball for a good bit until I was about about 10, 11, somewhere in there.
We're getting these young kids on here.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I've been playing sports, since I've been growing up.
Right, and that was like 5 years ago.
You're still growing up.
No, keep going. Don't let the old guy interrupt you.
I stopped playing baseball, and I needed something to keep me busy and do. So we had a friend. So my sister she used to dance, and one of her friends or whoever, right? She was really big in CrossFit.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, I should try it." So she recommended Electric City to us, I'm pretty sure, and we came on, looked, or there was someone from my neighborhood too that I came with.
So it was your little sister's friend that brought you to CrossFit for the first time.
It was my big sister.
Your big sister's friend. Okay.
But yeah, well, she danced up in Easley. And she recommended it, so we just went in.
Cool.
Yeah.
How old were you at that point?
11, I think.
Colin, do you remember him walking into the gym for the first time?
No, not at all. He was jumping into our Kid Fit class that we had at the time. And so we would have anywhere from 30 to 35 kids in the class at the same time when we were running this program. And it was a ton of kids. We had 5 coaches running the thing.
Yes.
Wow.
Just trying to wrangle it. It was a wild time. It was awesome. And so with that, it wasn't that anything was out of the ordinary. It was like, all right, let's get them in, make sure we got everybody. Let's get the program running. And that's really what it was.
That's cool.
They do amazing job when they do that, because they came up to Charlotte. I remember distinctly one time it was a Charlotte throwdown, and they brought every kid they had to just do it. And so I was obviously shooting it. So I've shot Kaiden several times when he was younger, but there's so many kids that I knew exactly where they were from. Mm-hmm. They did the Freedom Games. They'd bring a whole bus of kids, it seemed like, down from Anderson to Florence to go do this competition. So that's one of the things that Anderson Electric City are really good at when they have the classes. It's that they bring the kids in and they kind of teach them.
That's awesome. So how many days a week were you going then as a kid, as an 11-year-old kid?
I think when I started, it was 1 day a week. Was it like every Wednesday?
Yeah, so we started the Kid Fit program when he started, where it was just every Wednesday. It was just, all right, get in. We're going to teach you some movement. We'll throw a fun workout in there. Then we'll always play a game at the end of it, just to keep the entertainment. Don't show up to the gym to expect to work out. Come to the gym just to get moving.
Just
really is what
fun.
it was. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you guys market that, to have that many kids come over?
We had a really good head coach for that. So Kelly Wilson was basically the operations and the brains behind of it. She had a ton of connections. She's got 3 boys herself, and all of their friends pretty much helped jump on the wagon. And then once that happened, all of a sudden it just kept blowing up. People just kept talking about it, and we just got big.
That's awesome. So what did you think about it when you first started? Did you love it?
Oh, yeah. I remember, I think the first day I came in with my friend, we played dodgeball. I'm pretty
classic.
sure. But yeah, it's like the workouts, like we would play use cards and do it, and they were always fun. And then from there, just kept on doing it more.
That's cool. So at what point did you graduate from the kids class and start going to an adult class?
So wasn't it about a year after you did the teens class, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was and it wasn't many. It was probably 5-10 of us.
Yeah, so we had a group in that original class that had started with us for about 4 years with the Kid Fit program that were all getting close to teenagers or right at preteen. And it was like, all right, we have 5-year-olds, but we've also got 12-year-olds. Let's start separating this out. Mm-hmm. So we basically made like a preteen class. And so with that, he was one of the ones that jumped up with us. And so there may have been a smaller group. So we were like 5 to 10 that we took from that younger class just to go work more skill specific. And then in reality, really start working a little bit more weight specific, as long as the technique was there. So with that, he was in that original group.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So at that point, did he start separating himself a little bit from the group, or at that point was he still just one of the boys?
Oh, he was definitely one of the boys still.
Yeah.
So it was definitely one of those where he was in there, everybody was having a good time. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody's like-minded when they come into that, even at that age group. But you can definitely tell discernible differences. And if you do kids long enough as far as just the programming and watching and coaching, you can really tell 8 weeks is kind of that barrier to all of a sudden things start to click. Mm-hmm. Then once things start to click, then they can go wherever they want to. So the fact that he was in the program for so long, it was like, okay, things are clicking. Now the weights are really starting to go with it.
All right, that's awesome.
Colin, what was your degree in college?
Sport management.
Okay, all right.
All right, so how did you find your way from Clemson to Anderson? And when you got done with your football career, were you maintaining maintaining your fitness, or was CrossFit something you found a little bit after graduating? How did you land in Electric City?
So fitness was still on the realm, but I wouldn't put it anywhere near what I was when I started CrossFit. Like, it was, hey, I'm going to still do all my old football workouts. I know all the programming for 5 years of just being in school. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just going to continue that pattern. And then it's like, hey, you show up to your first CrossFit class, and I got exposed just like almost everybody else does walking in there. Just had no clue.
Let me ask you this. Did you try out for any NFL teams after college?
So I had a few people that we were talking to. But being long snapping, there's 32 spots, 53-man roster, they keep one. So with that, they're always just like that first year, hey, we got you on the list. If anything happens, we're going to give you a call. We can help pull you up. But besides a few tryouts, that was really it.
What is the career span or length of a long snapper, like on average in the NFL?
So it's wild. There's a few people that when I was coming out, they were getting into their 16th year in the NFL.
Wow.
And so teams have 2 ways to play it. It's we can have a career guy who's going to be here forever, or they're going to have the traveling guy where it's 1 year, gone, next guy, gone, next guy, gone. Just keep the salary cap down.
Huh.
That's crazy. Just to think about it, you're basically looking backwards through your legs, upside down, throwing a spiral. Think about that. And it's got to be there within at least 7 to 5 seconds.
I wonder what separates the guy who's there for 16 years and the team that continually rotates long snappers out. Like, what makes that 16-year veteran so much more special.
Right. Honestly, I think it's just a matter of just what the team wants.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you want that guy that's going to be accountable and has not missed a snap, has not missed a day, has not missed anything,
Yeah.
it's like, all right, cool. Pay the man. He'll be here forever. Like, you won't have a problem.
Wow. That's awesome.
60-year-old snapper.
Yeah.
Salty with a beard.
Right. Right. You'd have to be, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. All right. So when you found CrossFit, how old were you, and which gym were you at when you started?
So I started at 27, and then I had a bunch of buddies that I played with that were all into CrossFit, and they were the ones where legitimately you hear the story, especially this is 9.5 years ago. It's like, man, shut up. Like, I don't want to hear it. I don't know what this is. Just stop talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just kept pestering me. So that almost drove me more away from it than anything. And then my wife was like, hey, there's a new gym that just opened in town. Go try it. Just go try it. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. And then she finally messaged them for me, and it forced me to show up to be like, all right, I'm not ditching on this. Let me just go see what it's about. Saw it and was like, all right, I'm going to give it a try. And after the first day, it was like humbled, just like everybody again. And so after that, it's like, all right, that little competitive streak turns up, and it's like, I just got whipped by like 45-year-old man
Right.
that has no business whipping me in whatever this workout was, because he couldn't even tell you what it was.
Uh-huh. Did
So-
your wife go with you?
So she started the month after. So yeah, I started the first month, which would have been August 9 years ago, and then she started the month after.
That's awesome.
Was that Electric City?
Yeah, that was Electric City.
Awesome.
So yeah, 10-year anniversary is coming up in October 31st.
Fantastic.
So were you in the original building?
I was in the original building in that parking garage, but Nick actually opened it in a shed in the backyard.
Right.
But the first official name was once they moved to that building.
Okay. Because they had the parking garage, and then they moved to the mechanic place, and then now you guys are downtown,
Right.
right behind. Well, you guys are sharing a building with Talk Fitness,
Right.
and then Electric City Brewing,
Right.
which is always going around to the different CrossFit events, and that's the Pritchards.
Yeah, it's pretty cool spot. And
Yeah.
Nice layout right there.
Yeah, it's nice. It really is. It's it looks like a dungeon because you walk in, you go downstairs to go to the Talk Fitness parts, and it's all really pretty and showy and everything. It's like business in the front and party in the back kind of deal, because you go in the back and it's there.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. Never been to the building, though. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a great space.
Yeah.
That's cool. All right, let's talk a little bit more about your progression through CrossFit, Kaiden. So we get through the early teenage years. At what point did you two really start working together more one-on-one?
Well, actually, it was like was it like Tuesday, Wednesday this week? I saw something from 2 years ago. I had asked him if I could come in on a Saturday to try and get bar muscle up, because I was 2 years ago. I was 13 at the time, and we worked on it and we got it. I got one. I got a couple that day, and I guess from there just kept on going.
So with that, it's one of those things where like we don't force anybody to do extra programming. It's if you want to be competitive, show up to class every day. Be consistent. Do the class programming. It's going to give you the greatest benefit of consistency, let alone just the separation of how we program. And then from that, that's all he did. It was just class programming.
Yeah.
Even up to this year's open, there was nothing extra.
So, Kaiden, let me ask you this, because I've seen, we talked a little bit about this before.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of teenage divisions in the upstate world of CrossFit
No.
competitions. So how many competitions would you say that you've done in the men's division?
2 or 3. Well, Santa series and then the Y Throwdown, the two that I can think of.
And how many? And what was your finishes in those?
Ooh. The Y Throwdown, we won that division. Me and my other friend he's in my grade.
Right.
We were in intermediate or open division, probably
Right.
open. I think that was a year ago now.
Yep.
And then Santa series, don't know what our place was that with that one.
But that was with the men.
Yeah, he was competing
it
with
was.
men. I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing. Like, it's amazing to see what he's done.
Yeah.
Like, I've got pictures probably when he was 13. And now I've got pictures when he was at Santa Series. I've got pictures when he was at AYMCA. And so it is really neat to see that progression. All I did was press a button, but you guys are doing all the work. But
All right, so I'm curious. At what point did you think that you were kind of taking it to the next level? And then, Colin, at what point do you think he was starting to take it to the next level. I want to know if it's about the same time or not.
Well, we're talking about for the games. I didn't know until the Open this year. Like I did online. I competed or did the Open when I was 13, and I made online qualifiers. I had to make top 200. I made 192nd, and I was right there.
Yeah.
And I did online qualifiers. I'm like, so this would have been last year. The year after that, I went into. I'm like, I don't know when I'm in place, but so I ended up going into the Open, and like first one was my first workout. I placed 60th, I think, and then my scores kept on going down. I think I ended up 16th at the end of the Open. And then I guess that's when I realized I could go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you think he was capable of it prior to the Open?
Prior to the Open, yeah. To be honest, it's one of those where you don't want to get too excited. You're not going to reveal too much. But the fact that at 14, he made the age group qualifier for 14-15, even knowing obviously development, that age group is super tough because a year between 14 and 15, you're talking how much body mass, how much strength, how much movement, and just experience, just let alone. So with that, coming into the year, he was super consistent over the course of the next year. Quarantine, obviously working out at home, doing that whole thing, but coming out of it, the growth spurt, the body weight being put on, and on top of just coming to class every day, it was like you got a chance to be able to do things because essentially in his age group, you take the elite female weight, and that's going to be what male 14-15 does. And so every time he comes in, it's like, hey, where are your scores compared to Madeline? And like legitimately, that was kind of a little bit of a test for me to just kind of see where he was every time because it just gets super competitive. And then at that point, it was just back and forth. So leading into the Open, it's like, all right, let's go. Let's see what happens here. Who knows how many are going to sign up? Who knows what's going to be different this year? But yeah, going in that first week, it's like, okay, let's see what happens. We need to record everything.
That's awesome. So we get to the Open. What was your favorite Open workout?
Ooh.
And prior to that, what did you think about the announcement to it being 3 weeks instead of 5 weeks?
Well, for me, I know since I'm more consistent, 5 weeks would have been better for me. But so 3 weeks wasn't good. And then my favorite one, I don't know. Well, probably the last one, bar muscle up, all the stuff on the rig. And the lift. That one, 21.3 and 21.4. Those were fun.
Did that one go best for you too?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. He tore real bad.
Yeah.
And going into muscle ups.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was one of those where he could finish it. He would have had time, and it was such a bad tear. It's like, hey, here's some tape. Tape your hand up. You got to do a lift. Like, we got to go.
Yeah. Those were rough.
Man. Awesome. All right. Well, let's get a little bit more background on you, Kaiden.
All right.
Tell us a little bit about your family. I know your mom's sitting out there playing on her phone. You have an older sister, correct?
Yep, she just went off to college.
Oh, okay. So is it just the two of you guys?
It is, yeah.
Fantastic. What's her name?
Kaiden Myers?
No, her name.
Oh, her name. Dakota.
I know your name. Dakota. Cool. Where'd she go off to?
SCAD in Savannah, Georgia.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool. I had never even heard of SCAD. And we got married in Savannah, my wife and I. Never even heard of SCAD until we went down there for that.
Yeah.
But it's pretty prestigious.
It's a nice place.
That's awesome. Have you been able to get down there and visit her?
Not yet, no.
Cool.
She'll be coming up in like a month back
So
up here.
Did she start CrossFit with you when you started?
No, she didn't start when I started, but she did for about a month or two when I was in the adult class sometime.
Yeah. So she jumped in. She was in that teen class that we talked about. Basically before class, but older than the kid fit section. She was with us for a little bit.
Yeah.
And what about your mom?
Yep, she started just about a year ago now. This time.
What took her so long?
Well, she went to Burn Boot Camp, which is like just a different fitness place. And we finally convinced her to come to CrossFit. She didn't want anything with like a barbell because it was like all like cardio and stuff. But we finally convinced her to, and now she does every day.
How did you end up convincing her to come on over to the dark side?
I don't know, honestly. I was probably a lot of everyone else.
Oh, yeah. So on our end, it was one of those where obviously we've known Kaiden forever at this point. And we know Amy forever because it was always be come up, drop off, hang out, talk a little bit. It's like, hey, why don't you come in on a Saturday class? Just the random invite. And it was always, no, I'm going to go over here for today. Just always. And then she got in once. And then once she started coming in, everybody kind of just put that little bird into her ear and just, hey, this is what we want to try and get you in. And then just over time, she just made the switch.
That's cool. So she's been there for a year. What's it like working out with your mom?
It's cool. So she works out with me at 4:30. And yeah, it's fun. It's cool seeing her like get new movements like all the time now. It's awesome.
Are you coaching her up?
No, not me.
You're not telling your mom, hey, no, you're not doing that right.
Yeah.
Make sure you use hook grip, you know.
She's like, yeah, you know that favorite thing you like from the grocery store? You're not getting it.
Yeah.
Speaking of grocery store, all right, now that you are a high-level teen CrossFit athlete, are you focused on your nutrition at all, or are you still eating pizza and hamburgers?
No, I eat clean and a lot of it.
Okay, when did that start? You're a 15-year-old boy. When me and Kevin were 15, I think eating clean was probably farthest from our mind. So just the fact that you're 15 and you're committed to that part. Yeah, exactly. That's true. Just that you're 15 and committed to that part says a lot about you. So when did that part start?
Pretty sure I started meal prepping chicken and sweet potatoes in 8th grade.
Really?
Which would have been 2 years ago.
Wow.
So you're that kid, like you would like take your lunch to school and your kids would look at your friends and be like, what are you eating? Chicken and sweet potatoes. That's awesome.
I get a lot of weird looks now. So I got a massive thermos I take to school. It's like almost 50 ounces. And I got a whole bag of rice in the bottom, bunch of shredded chicken. I got chicken sausage in there and sweet potatoes.
That's awesome, dude. Every day.
Every day.
Good for you.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you. That's great. So
are you eating only one time, or are you like eating all during the day?
Well, I got my snack in between my first and second class. Then lunch, or I take a protein shake in a Yeti bottle to school. And I eat my lunch after that, and then if I can get in a snack after that, I will.
So I'm just thinking about how it was when we were in high school.
Right.
You just went to class. You didn't get to eat, drink, or nothing until it was like lunchtime. Do you guys like just take your Yeti bottle with you into class and just drink there? And
well, you're supposed to have like a clear container, like you don't have water, but no one cares. Like the teachers don't say anything. But yeah, I should throw it in my book bag and I'll have it like in between class.
that's crazy.
I mean, seriously, think about that. This is like the ongoing joke we've had for years. Like, seriously, 8th grade, freshman, sophomore, like, who do you know that ever took their own lunch, let alone like meal prep, eat? It's super clean. Like, we've never really had to say anything food wise.
I've never heard.
You need to eat more.
Yeah,
like,
that's all it is.
Yeah.
That would have been unheard of when we were in high school.
Teacher would always tell us, if you're going to bring one, you got to bring one for everybody.
Yeah, that's so funny, dude. I started public school in 8th grade, and prior to that, I've done everything under the sun. I did private school. I was homeschooled 1 year. I went to charter school, and then I went to public school. So I did it all. 8th grade was my first public school experience, and so the three prior, being private, homeschool, and charter, you bring your lunch to school or you just eat it at home. I was homeschooled for 1 year. That was like 2nd grade, so I barely remember that. So my mom had always packed me peanut butter and jelly and like a banana and, just normal stuff. I remember going to lunch for the first day in 8th grade at public school and seeing these kids with literally 2-liter Mountain Dews, bags of cookies. And I didn't even think that was possible, that you could eat that for lunch. And I was like, did your mom let you bring that? You're like, no, I just bought it right over there. I was like, you kidding me? But that's really cool, dude. That's awesome that you're doing that. So what do your friends say about that?
Oh, yeah. So a lot of people ask if it's my water, my big thermos. They're like, oh, is that your water? I know, it's my food. But then, yeah.
So you've yet to have high school pizza?
No. Well, I've had it before.
Okay.
But it's...
Kevin, I swear the high school pizza at your high school must have been amazing, because I swear you've mentioned
it
that
was
at
the
least
rectangle
5 times.
pizza.
They're small in there.
It was the rectangle. It was the sheet pizza.
The sheet pizza.
It's good.
That's cool. So, you're not playing any other high school sports other than CrossFit?
Correct.
Do you have any friends go to TL Hanna? Any friends from TL Hanna that are doing CrossFit with you at all?
Yeah, the one that I did the Y throwdown with. Well, he doesn't like only do CrossFit. He does like football and everything, but he does CrossFit like on the side. And Sienna, that's in one of my classes, she does it as well. I think that's about it that I know of that goes to Hannah.
Now, have you ever had like the want to play another sport?
Kinda. So Brian Cheek, he coaches javelin, and he wanted me to start doing javelin for Hannah.
For the track team?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that almost happened, kinda. But it was been hard with CrossFit to do.
It's a lot of torque on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And hips. So let me ask you guys both this. and I have a friend of mine that goes to Hannah too. She's a freshman this year.
All right.
And I asked her, I said, because she plays lacrosse, and I asked her, I said, so she has like gym 1, and she was explaining to me because she missed out on gym 3. And I was like, all right. I said, so what do you guys do? Because when we went to high school, we didn't have specific sports training for your team or whatever. So do they, in your opinion, do you think they should do some form of CrossFit in high school?
Oh, well, obviously, I think it would be great.
Right.
But so it's like the gym 1 you were talking about.
Right.
Everyone has to take a gym class.
Okay.
And if you play a sport, you can take gym 3, which is weightlifting.
Right.
So they would have let me do gym 3 because I didn't play sport for Hannah. So I'd take the gym 1. And it was like just playing basketball the whole time and like random stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So when it's like gym 3 and you're doing like weightlifting, do you actually have a physical coach there and they like write it out on the board? We're going to do, 5 rounds of bench press at whatever your max weight is, and then back squat, and then leg day with that kind of stuff?
I have no idea because I didn't take it. But
Okay.
that's what I hear. That's kind of what it is. Yeah.
Colin, what do you think about it? I mean, would you think that CrossFit would be a great addition to a high school course as far as like maybe make it mid-gym 1?
Yeah, I think it's one of those where obviously there are schools that are incorporating it. I think it's awesome. Like to me personally, thinking back to that age range, kind of the weight room mentality that we had sports-wise compared to where it is now. I mean, shoot, you're talking 20 years ago or more.
Right.
At that point, it's like, hey, go squat that weight. It's like no one's telling you how low, what's the form, what weight to do, let alone knowing probably how much was on the bar. It's like, hey, go lift. So nobody knew what we were doing at that time. But now at this point where it's talking legitimately, kind of taking it back to that just functional movement of, hey, how can you move your body in space? And like protecting at least movement as you're going through that. I think it's awesome. I also think like the gym 3 thing, in reality, I think it's okay. I thought it was funny when they said that they wouldn't let them in, only for the fact of like, hey, we qualified, this is where we're at. It would be something to be able to add accessories where it's like, hey, it's going to be traditional powerlifting.
Right.
And it's going to be sport specific, most likely to all sports. You're going to see cleans. You're going to see bench press, back squat, deadlifts, hex bar, all that stuff, which will help translate. But at the same point, it's like, well, we're going to keep it sport specific. So I think if you do that, just have different programs within that. So it's like gym 1, gym 2, gym 3, choose your pick. Gym 1 could be traditional, like he's talking about, basketball, just volleyball, learn the basics of sport. And then gym 2 could be a CrossFit style. Gym 3 could be your sport specific. So you can kind of just have a detailed idea of where you don't want to go with it and just get into a loophole, see if you like it.
Now, are you a freshman this year or a sophomore?
Sophomore.
Okay.
Yep.
And so your school realizes that you went to the CrossFit Games.
Yes.
And they still stuck you in gym 1.
Well, I did take that my freshman year,
Okay.
so last year.
All right.
But yeah.
So you just said the high school like knew that you went to the CrossFit Games. Was that like a big deal? Did the high school hype you up? Did they say anything, or like what did the kids say about it? Or do a lot of the kids know you as the CrossFit kid, or what?
Yes and no. Like, well, all my friends know about it, obviously. But then, like, outside of that, a lot of people know I do it. Don't know, like, how competitive I am with it. And then, like, so we were at the games. I think it was, like, the day before last. And so, well, back to my last year of school, we asked the principal because, like, I finished all my testing, like, 2 weeks before school ended. So we asked if I could just, like, take off and, like, go do all my work online so I come to the gym and start training. And he's like, yeah, go for it. And I mean, it wasn't like we weren't doing anything anyway. So he knew I did that. And like he's my principal, he said he looked it up, like what it was, like the CrossFit Games and everything. Super cool. And then it's like we were at the games this year and he had messaged my mom saying that he was watching or was going to watch on the last day. And then I got to school. I talked with him a little bit about it. Super nice. And one of the assistant principals, he had me email some like pictures and information to him, and he put together some little thing that they put on their website.
Really?
But they've yet to have a prep rally for you, though.
Yeah, that's right. They need to exactly get off the bus, have the cheerleaders
Have
there
the
for
cheerleader
ya.
tunnel coming in.
Make it a big deal. That's cool. That was one of my questions, actually. So before I ask that one, let's talk a little bit about the CrossFit Games experience, though. What was it like going to Madison and being a part of the Noble CrossFit Games, getting your picture taken, getting all the stuff? What was all that like?
It was awesome. When we got there, like I didn't know any of the kids. Well, so I knew one of the kids, but that was it. And like I'd seen them. I follow them on Instagram, so it's like know who they are and stuff. But getting there is real. We stood there in like an hour just to get like back to the clothes area, and it's just like no one was really talking much. And we got back there where they had the little like, what were they?
It was like the Noble locker room.
Yeah,
where you got all the Noble gear.
Oh, that was awesome. All the stuff they had back there and the setup, it was so cool.
So at that point, is there just one big locker room and then they just kind of tear it down from the elite and then put the teenage stuff in there and then you go back there and get the teenage stuff? Is that how it worked, or was there a separate locker room for each division?
Right. So they had the one main locker room and they just had different registration times.
Okay.
So basically teens came in and then all the masters age groups came in. And then the following days would be the elite individuals once all the masters and elite athletes were gone. And then the teams were, I think, the last ones to come in.
Pretty sure.
All right, cool. So you walk in there and you get your gear, you get your picture. You start making friends right away, or were you like kind of mean mugging people?
Well, no. After we got in the locker room, it's like you didn't really see anyone after that because you didn't get pictures and all that stuff. But it was like the next day when we get back there and we get crowd, when you start talking to everyone and making friends. They're all super cool.
That's awesome. So what was your setup like for the entire week? Did you guys rent like an Airbnb? Did you guys stay in a hotel? Were you guys together? Colin, I'm assuming you went with him, correct?
Yeah.
And did your mother go with you as well?
She did.
Okay, so it was the three of you guys together, basically. Was there anybody else in your entourage?
Yeah, so my wife came, and then we had a couple people from the gym that came up with us too. So we had a good group that was up there. But we ended up finding a hotel pretty early, and the biggest thing was for how clean he already ate. I was like, let's control what you're eating. So we just had to find a room that had a kitchen in it.
Yeah.
So we stayed basically in a Stay Bridge suite, which you can make your food every breakfast.
Yeah.
Make it super clean if we want to take it on site, especially when you're training. And then after that, it was like, all right, we're just staying here for the rest of the time.
That's cool. So who was we asked JR when I had him on a couple weeks about his CrossFit experience, who like his point man was throughout the entire week, right? Like who was the guy giving you your water or your snacks or whatever? Was that Colin?
Yeah.
That's cool. So Colin, what was that like? What was it like being kind of that sideline coach? Although JR said the coaches were kind of separated, there wasn't much communication.
Right, yeah. So it was a little bit different than what some of the previous sectionals and like semifinal, I guess, events, like these big events that we've done in the past with Allison, where like the training hall, everybody's in the training hall. It's massive. It's awesome. There's so much equipment. But then everybody's fighting for the same equipment because we're all basically going out to do the same workout. So with that, one of my main goals just from experience with that and Allison was, hey, I don't want him to think about anything. Legitimately, it's like, hey, show up. This is what we're doing. If you want to eat, this is when we need to eat prior to the food, prior to your heat. This is how much time we need the leeway to be able to before going to the corral. When you're in the corral, hey, just make sure we're doing these things to stay loose before going to the floor. And of course, we talk game plan, and game plan was always mixed in. But the big thing was, it's like, make him think about as little as possible. But as far as like the coach separation, like JR was talking about, I mean, it was absolutely there, but it's a little bit different for his age because they wanted a guardian on site. So it was like, you can be a coach or a guardian. So we got a little more access than most coaches did. But it was still, when he got corralled in the training area, they would corral all the 14, 15s, male and female, and then they'd have one full group take them out to where they're going to be stationed before going to the floor. And so at that point, we had to go all the way out, exit, and then re-enter the venue through like the main gates. And then we were just another spectator in the crowd until you got into the stadium itself. So in the stadium, we can go down. There's a warm-up area underneath that we can go down to. But once you went out to the floor, we had to go back up in the seats.
How nervous were you the first time he left you alone?
Actually, wasn't. I don't think it was that bad.
No?
When, like, because we're with all the other teens in my age group, and we start talking, being friends and stuff, and then take us back to, like, the backstage area, which the first event was at Run. And we were back there for, 2 hours because they had a rain delay.
Right.
And then, another one. So, it had been, 2 hours since I had been back in the training hall. And, man, we were all, starving. It was so bad. And nobody was, warm at all going into that. But, yeah, it wasn't. It was weird because I wasn't that nervous.
Yeah.
I was expecting to be. But, yeah, it was good.
That's kind of funny, right? Like, you're here in Anderson. You know, you don't have too many friends that are kind of doing what you're doing, or, friends that really understand or that you talk to or consistently work out with all the time. And then all of a sudden you're thrown into the CrossFit games with other 14 and 15-year-old boys, and you're like, maybe these are my people. Like, this is
exactly.
what it's all about.
Yep.
So, yeah, maybe that would help with the nerves a little bit. Finally people you can
so.
relate to.
Yep, exactly.
That's cool, man. Yeah.
So what is it like? Let me ask you this. Sorry.
No, that's fine.
So what is it like having Colin as a coach? I mean, obviously he's been there before, so he's got that wealth of knowledge. He knows how it's going to basically run. He's basically your corner man in boxing. He knows how to take the pressure off of you. How does that feel towards you?
I mean, it's great because all I have to worry about is working out. Like, he does all the programming. I mean, he tells me what to do. It's like when we're there, it's just like I don't have to worry about anything except for doing good.
Colin, has there ever come a time where he's told you no to something?
Not at this point. I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting on the day. It's one of those where you can pretty much tell him anything.
Right.
And at this point, he would do it. It's like, hey, let's go load you up a 50-pound ruck and then take a 100-pound sled for a mile run. And it's like, okay. Like, no question. It's like, all right, let's just go do it. So with that is definitely one of those things where it's one of those like, all right, where are we at training-wise? You do your background. You do your checks. You do all of the research you need to do as far as programming wise, but then there was really a lot of detail in how we led up to the games.
Have you had any parents come to you because of your experience with Allison and now with him as far as being coach for their children?
Not individually. Again, Anderson, the Electric City, has a ton of obviously prime athletes, but it's one of those where to be specific for CrossFit, kind of how he came up, like the group that he was with in that teen class, every one of them, if we go back and really think about it, minus the one that's actually stayed with us, has probably gone on to high school sport.
Okay.
So with that, it's like the interest level has kind of changed. But we see a lot of kids from AU coming in now.
Right.
And so with AU, it's like if they've had high school experience where they were from, we've had a few come in being like, hey, yeah, I saw Kaiden went to the games, and they just knew everything the first day they walked in.
Now, do you see, and this is not nothing against you or anything, but do you dread the day that there's a possibility where he does tell you no to something?
No, honestly, the biggest thing, I want to know where everybody's at. So regardless of who the athletes are, it's like we don't program, when I say we, I don't program out a week in advance.
Okay.
Legitimately, I program tomorrow for class, which I tell my athletes, I want you doing class no matter what. That's the priority. If you can't do anything else, do class. Show up, be part of the community, and just make it the fun that CrossFit should be, right? So with that, everything else is built before or after, but you got to do class. But then if he comes up and says no to something, it's like, hey, I want to know why. Like, what's the deal? What's going on? Is it a nagging back? Is it an injury? Is it something we need to know about? Because, yeah, we need that input. So I don't want anybody to be afraid to say no or say, hey, yeah, I just can't do it.
That's really cool. So we had, I believe it was Tommy Marquez that said that you asked the question, what keeps this sport the way it is to the point where these elite people are still heavily involved with the community? And his answer was for these athletes to stay involved with their local affiliate. So I think that's awesome that you make even some of these folks who are doing extra programming go ahead and still do, and you program the class to their capability, which says a lot about your programming too. I think that's how it should be. You should be able to program to the best person in the gym and then scale from there.
Right. Yeah. That's always been the biggest thing because we've done our own programming at Electric City from day one. And the biggest thing, it's changed over time. We've had a ton of different avenues where people have different sections of athlete fitness and wellness as far as just what priority you want. But in reality, it's like, yeah, we're going to program for if Rich Ferroni and Matt Frazier and everybody walks in the gym, we still want them to have a challenge to not worry about. But at the same time, coaching-wise, I put it back on our coaches saying, hey, if we have brand new day one, never touched a barbell, do you know how to scale them appropriately and present that within the class to be able to say, hey, everybody can work out together and still do this workout. We just have to modify it for everybody.
Hey guys, we're going to take a break to thank our sponsors for today's episode. We're going to start off with CrossFit Greer. If you're living in the Greer area and are interested in getting started in CrossFit, go ahead and look up CrossFit Greer. Jen and Reagan Green are the owners there. If you mention the Apogee Podcast to them, they will give you 10% off your first month's membership fees.
I would also like to thank Blitz Belts and Chris Kane for their continued support of the show. So be sure to use their 15% off coupon code at checkout. That's Apogee, all caps. That gets you, the listener, 15% off at checkout at Blitz Belts on your custom order. I want to thank GoTape for being our new sponsor. GoTape has committed its brand to providing the best in athletic tape. They are the standard for CrossFit tape, scary sticky. Now they are providing the best in KT tape. So at checkout, be sure to get your 25% off your wholesale purchase. Use the coupon code Apogee at checkout.
Finally, if you guys would like to become an invested friend of the show and are interested in supporting the show directly, go to anchor.fm/Apogee Podcast and click on the support tab. We love bringing you guys awesome content each week, so be sure to subscribe to the podcast, drop a review, and let us know how we're doing.
Kaiden, what are your plans? Where do you see yourself? I don't know, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. I mean, is this something you plan to stick with? I mean,
yeah. I mean, I want to stick with it for as long as possible, but I mean, definitely want to try to go to the games again sometime.
Like, I mean, we had I don't mean to, like, we had Jackson and Zach on here, and they're kind of sort of in your same vein too. They've kind of grown up with it, you know, and like it's. But you were saying you want to keep going to the games and stuff.
I would love to go again. 16, 17. Like, I've got 2 years. So this year I age up to 16, 17. I'll have the year after, and I mean, who doesn't want to go? Like, you know.
So do you look at it as like any other sport, like baseball, football, CrossFit, swimming?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's different is like I'm by myself compared to being with a team, as in like baseball and all that stuff is.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you ever see yourself? Do you plan to go to college? Is that going to be a thing? Are you going to try to stick around here, do you think, and go to college?
Yeah, that's what so I want to go into engineering, I think, some type. And it's like Clemson, I know, has really good engineering.
Yeah.
Which would be great because like I'm going to be right down the road, still go to Electric City.
There you go.
And it'll be great.
That's cool.
That would kind of be the goal.
It's interesting. So I knew that obviously you guys were coming on. We planned this, I don't know, a couple months ago, like right after the CrossFit games. And I was thinking about it today, and I was like, athlete-coach relationships. What is there any type of like similarities, or you look at some of these athletes like Tia or Justin Medeiros, and then you look at their coach, right? Like Tia's coach is her husband Shane. Justin, he's had a long-standing relationship with his coach, and it seems like they're almost like brothers, right? Like they lived together at one point. And knowing the little history I knew about you two, it looked like, from an outsider looking in, Colin is very much like a father figure in your life. And I feel like that dynamic just seems to work. You know, when you see some of these athletes going off to these training camps and they're training with a bunch of other people and they don't really have that relationship with the coach. Like, talk about that, Colin. Do you think having a relationship like what you have is pretty ideal, especially for individual athletes like in CrossFit?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things where obviously we've seen success. We've got a lot of really good athletes that have come through Electric City. So with that, regardless of whether it's Allison, Brian, Madeline, even Kaiden, it's one of those where we all have relationships with each other. Mm-hmm. But in reality, from the coaching side of it, it's one of those where it's like, yeah, you got to develop that bond. And it's like, yes, you can do external programming, do it in the gym, doing your own thing, and nobody would like, that doesn't rub anybody wrong, especially me, if you want to do that. But at the same point, it's like, what's the gym? And to me, the priority is like, hey, this is the community. So we're going to build the relationships. And if the fitness comes, it's like, awesome. We've got that base to be able to work off of. So if the day comes where he says no, it's like, all right, cool, let's talk about it. Not, oh, dang, my feelings are going to be hurt. Like, nah, I can't train here, go do something else, or just the relationship breaks. It's like, hey, let's just build a relationship because that's the priority.
Yep.
It's like, in reality, especially being his age, it's like, look, he can be doing a lot of other things. But at the same point, it's like, because he's putting all of that focus on this, and his mom, how awesome she is, and like, hey, we trust the gym with our son, especially from 11. It's like, all right, cool, that's a lot of pressure. But at the same point, you build a relationship, she comes on. I also feel like that's part of it too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing for the simple fact that growing up, it was either baseball or football. You would start playing baseball at a young age, or you would start playing football at a young age. And so you were always immersed in that. You may not have always had the same coach because they would hand you off as you aged up. But you guys are in a great position, you know, a lot like how the Chinese sports do it. You know, they get their Chinese weightlifting coaches. They start them in as kids, and they don't do nothing but lift weights until they age out, or if they don't make the Olympics or whatever. You guys are kind of sort of in the same boat in a roundabout way. You know, he knows what your limits are right now. You know what your limits are. You know his coaching, you know, what drives him and how he's going to be. And I think really honestly and truly, the sky's the limit for you guys. I really do.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
that's just a statement, but I mean, that's how I see it outside looking in. I mean, it's, you know, you guys are great.
I definitely appreciate it. Yeah. It's one of those where, again, I think the same thing. It's like the level of change, let alone after this whole year, just thinking back, the year's been wild. Like in reality, the Opens move back to the original date. It's like, awesome. He's still in school. We're not doing any extra training. He qualifies for the age group. Then at that point, it's like, all right, cool. Yeah, let's start adding a few pieces. Let's start fixing a few movements. And then it's like, bang, you make the CrossFit Games. And then with that, you're like, whoa, awesome. All right, now we need to really start training. Like, these are things we got to focus on. So, I mean, that dynamic, it definitely just kind of secures that bond as far as what we were going to, what the goal was, and obviously just kind of having the same aim.
I'll say this for Kaiden too. You know, we were at the midnight flight. We were talking and everything. Kaiden's just standing there. Nobody, I mean, they probably know who he is, like you said, or did they know you as the CrossFit kid at your school? And it's like you have you have a level of maturity that I haven't seen in a lot of kids your age. One thing is, it's not like you're walking around saying, "Hey, you know, you're just Kaiden." You know, it's like I saw you and I said, "Hey, Kaiden," I came over and talked to you, but then I walked away and it was just kind of like, it's just Kaiden. You know, you looked over at me and everybody was like doing their thing around you, and you were just like, just Kaiden. You know, so I mean that's kudos to you and your mom. So
that's cool, man. So I'm interested. How do you feel like your athlete to coach relationship is? How do you see Colin as a coach? Was my assumption correct? You kind of see him as like a father figure?
Yeah, definitely. He is like a father figure to me. I mean, like, especially over the summer when all we were doing was training, like hours in the gym together, just messing around, having fun, working out, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah.
Y'all ever hang out outside of the gym?
Yeah, when we go mountain biking.
Really?
Yeah, that's...
Oh, yeah, that was a quarantine hobby picked up. We had a bunch of the guys in the gym just went out and just bought a mountain bike.
That's
like,
awesome.
Cool. Can't hang out together in the gym. Let's just go get on the trails.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
So much fun.
that's awesome.
So you're going to continue to do that as part of your training? You have to. I mean, there's going to be another a bike event eventually.
I mean, we went out about a month ago and we got lost. And it was like, all right, Kaiden, which way do we go? Right, straight, left? Like, what are we going to do? It was like, just lead us out of here. It ended up being like, I don't know, an hour and a half out on the trail. Yeah. We got back to the parking lot. It was good.
That's awesome.
Fun. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, Kaiden, I don't know how many people know like your backstory as far as, you know, we keep talking about Colin being a fatherly figure in your life. You know, I know a little bit about your backstory, how your father lost his life, you know, serving our country. Do you feel like and that happened when you were very young, right? You don't remember much of it. Do you feel like that was something you were missing and you kind of found that in the gym?
Probably for the most part. I mean, like, growing up, my dad was killed when I was not even 3, 2.5.
Mm-hmm.
He was in the military. He was Air Force for 10 years. And, yeah, so it's like I had a couple, like, father-like figures in my life. But, I mean, Colin, especially, like, over this summer, creating that bond, it's, like, just really, yeah, you know what I mean?
It means a lot to you.
Yeah.
That's cool. And Colin, you know, knowing his backstory, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where when I know he came into the gym, especially even into the Kid Fit, we kind of had an idea what the story was. And as he started becoming more ingrained, it was one of those where you just start knowing the family. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, we care. Like, that's kind of the best thing we could say. So with that, it's like you just keep involving them. I know we do basically the memorial workout every year. And so we always just make sure that the family's good with it. We talk to Amy, we talk to Kaiden and Dakota. And it's like, hey, we'd love to do it again. And then with that, obviously, we just make it this great event just to kind of help the family out and just show our support. So with that, yeah, over the time, I mean, it's one of those where, yes, it's hard not to get emotional about it. But at the same time, yeah, I really feel this last year. I mean, just with the games, the open, the online qualifiers, everything. Like, yeah, the bond has been built. And, like, to have any part of as far as being, like, a fatherly figure, yeah, it's a big deal.
That's
I got a 7-year-old, and, I mean, I know what that is personally. So with that, just to be able to do anything is great.
That's awesome. So you guys have this memorial workout every year. Is that something that you help program, or is it the same workout every year?
It's the same workout every year that, I don't know who made it, but someone made it for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it was a group that was on one of the bases he was stationed at.
I think so, yeah.
What's the workout?
That's a good question.
You got this one?
It's 8 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
There's tire flips, there's running, pull-ups, lunges, I think.
Yep.
And then
Flutter kicks.
Yep, flutter kicks.
And then burpees are in there as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then you could throw a weight vest on if you want to play the game.
There
So
you go.
this year, you guys are being honored at the Freedom Games
Oh,
in
yeah.
Greenwood. They're dedicating it to your dad. How does that? I mean,
I mean, that's awesome. Just knowing like all the support from CrossFit in general, like our gym and then like all the other gyms I go to and stuff. Or like if I ever like visit any,
right?
all that. Just nice to know that people care and they want to help out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Do you know much about your dad's athletic background? How much of your dad did you get?
I have no idea about that actually.
You
It's a
should
good
ask your
question.
mom.
I should.
Yeah. I'd be interested. It's
Yeah.
always fun. I have 2 boys, so I'm always curious to, like, as they keep getting older and older, you kind of see certain traits come out and you're like, oh, that's totally Laura, or like, oh, that's me. You know, it's fun to see. So yeah, you should ask her about that. I think that'd be cool.
I will.
Yeah, one of my favorite things when Amy gets in the gym, it's like she can pick things up very quick, being that it's only been a year. And it's just like, Amy, can't hide an athlete. Like,
That's right.
Can't hide.
That's awesome. Very cool. So after coming home from the CrossFit Games, how do you feel like that changed you as a person and an athlete, if at all?
I mean, just like the experience in general, it's like I gained a lot of information from like not only like competing and all that stuff, but it's like the mindset of all that. It's just like it's hard to describe. You should learn a lot about it all.
So, like Kevin said earlier, there's not too many teenage division competitions around here. How are you guys going to kind of incorporate more competition within the next year?
Well, so now I age up to 16, 17. So all my weights go straight to men's RX. So now I've been training men's RX weights, so I should go hop in with the men and go compete.
Perfect. You got any local competitions that you want to do?
Y Throwdown, sign up, doing that one. Do the Freedom Games. Probably do Santa Series if they're doing it again this year. And whatever other ones show up.
Cool.
Yeah.
Didn't you say you were going to do the Waterplu's online qualifier?
Oh, yes, I am doing that in less than a month.
Nice.
That's exciting.
So what unique skills do you think you have as a person, as an athlete, to be able to juggle all of this at your age?
That's a good question. I mean, I like taking on like a challenge. Like you give me something to try and like figure out. I mean, I like doing that type of stuff. That's why like engineering type of thing.
Right.
Like problem solving, all that. So I think that definitely has a big role in that.
That's cool. Yeah, I think anybody that is packing their lunch with chicken and rice and sweet potatoes has a different kind of mindset when they're 15 years old.
8 years old doing that.
When do you turn 16, did you say?
May 28th.
Oh, that's coming up, dude. Big sweet 16. Is Amy buying you a car?
We've been looking, but it's just whenever we find something that's...
Dude, as long as it has 4 wheels and it goes, that's all that
right.
matters, man. My first car was my mom's minivan. No joke. It was a 1991 Dodge Caravan. We called it the Black Bear. And it was cool, man, because it was one of those old school ones where it had bench seats in the back. So we just took out the middle bench seat, and I would fit like 12 kids in there. And I literally drove that thing through my freshman year of college. I had it on campus my freshman year. Yeah.
So let me ask you this real quick. Would you consider yourself a competitive person? You seem really, really laid back. Like nothing bothers you. But when you're in the heat of the moment, would you consider yourself very competitive?
Yes and no, I'd say.
Okay.
I'm like, if I can like pick a person like Madeline, it's like I train with her all summer.
Right.
It's like we get real competitive with that, just between each other, like who's gonna win,
Right.
for the workout. But at the same time, it's like I don't care that much. Let's just go do my best.
So was that the mindset when you were at the games and you looked at the other, like, these are good guys, but it really boils down to me and the clock?
Pretty much. It's
Okay.
like, because I don't know how well they're gonna perform.
Right.
So all I can do is do my best.
So if you're playing checkers with your sister and she's beating you, you're not just going to like shove the checkers on the floor and be like, this is bullshit, I'm out of here.
No.
That's good, dude. That's good. You're calm and collected. You got a good head on your shoulders.
Thank you.
That's good. All right, man. What kind of stuff do you like to do outside of CrossFit and school?
Fishing.
Really?
Yep.
Cool.
Fish all day. Love it.
It kind of fits your personality, I feel like. Unless you're, so are you a fish off land, or do you have like a little boat that you have, or what?
Fish off land for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I got to get a car I got to get a boat, and then I can get my car so I can pull the boat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's got his priorities right
He
there.
does, yeah.
Boat first, car second.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna be on you're gonna be that guy who's getting out there at like 3 a.m. going 80 miles across the lake.
Yeah.
80 miles per hour.
Well, they do have the Bassmasters all the time in Anderson now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but they're there a lot.
Do you watch it on TV?
No, we don't
No.
have cable TV, but
Nobody has cable TV
yeah,
anymore.
no. But I mean, I'd rather.
You don't
go
watch
out
it on
and fish.
YouTube then?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. It's always funny when we get in the clinic, the majority of our patients are 40 and older, and they talk about cable TV sometimes. I'm like, who watches cable TV? Like, why do you still pay for that? You know?
I still have it.
Really?
Yeah. Because I can get everything. Erin's at home right now watching her fall Hallmark movies.
How many channels do you really need? I mean, if you get YouTube TV, it has everything that you need.
Yeah, but I like to watch documentaries. So I can sit there and watch the Science Channel, the History Channel. I can watch Discovery Channel.
Yeah, but most of those documentaries are on Netflix or Hulu or whatever.
But I've already watched them all.
That's so funny to me that you still pay for cable.
Trust me, I've tried not to.
Yeah.
I tried to do the switch.
Just can't get away from it.
Well, I like the aspect of live TV.
It's all live TV.
Well, I get that now, but
You're just streaming it
it
instead
is
of
kind of
going through a cable
it was a
line.
very interesting aspect when I woke up one day and I'm looking at YouTube and they started having like YFF on YouTube.
Yeah,
Then I was kind of like, that's pretty much crazy.
it is.
Yeah.
That's cool. What kind of engineer do you want to be?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No, haven't thought that far yet.
Haven't thought that far. But
Yeah.
you do like math.
I do. Yeah, math's my favorite subject.
Do you play with Legos?
I used to all the time.
What math are you taking right now?
My next semester I'll be taking algebra 2.
Oh,
honors.
good deal. Y
Yeah.
equals mx plus b.
Yeah.
All right. Colin, are you excited about Crucible in a couple weeks?
I am.
All
Yeah,
right.
just
Talk
kinda-
about that. You're reuniting with your old pal, Allison.
Yeah, I always told her it was one of those where, obviously, after Baby Jax, whenever you're ready to get back in, I'll partner up. I
Yeah.
have no problem with that. So that was one of those ones where she reached out to me. It was coming up. We knew it was kind of on the radar. And every time, like, yeah, if you want to do it, I'm in. Let's do this.
I can't wait.
You guys have been a great team for a very long time.
Oh, dude. I
So-
remember the first time I saw you guys partner up. In fact, it was the first time I ever saw you work out. And I was like, who is this giant man who's doing like 10 muscle ups in a row? That is amazing.
Yeah, no.
Talk about being a big guy and doing CrossFit.
That's
real
what I was
quick.
going to say. It's one of those where, obviously, like, there needs to be a Clydesdale division, like, just straightforward. But in reality, I mean, it's one of those where you always feel out of place in a CrossFit competition because you're a head taller than everybody else.
Yeah, it's like
And so with that, it's like, yeah, the movements are longer. You can make the excuses. We're going to work just as hard. It's the same thing. But yeah, it's definitely one of those where you feel like you have a disadvantage, but I'm not going to trade my size outside of the gym.
yeah,
Let's put it that way.
yeah. You're like the definition of a rig shaker.
Yeah,
Like,
the
big time.
that thing moves. It definitely moves.
I always like to watch him lift.
Yeah.
Like when he lifts, he's all or nothing. If you get a chance to watch Colin lift, is a sight to behold.
Well, we're gonna see it at Crucible. I know there's gonna be a heavy lift there.
Yeah, I have no less expectations from JR.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be great. Rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Let's do it. All right, Colin. If you were to program a workout that's gonna put Kaiden on his ass in 10 minutes, what would it be?
Oh, it's always echo bike, burpee box jump over.
Yeah.
Always, no question.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the combo or the reps. Put them together.
All right, Kaiden. Same question for you. If you were gonna program something for Colin, what would it be?
Oh.
Double unders and I don't know, running.
Do you have to order a special rope for yourself?
No, not normally. It's I'm not overly sized to the point where I have issue finding shoes.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It's like clothes, ropes, everything. It's like the max capacity.
How tall are you?
6'3".
Okay, you just seem much bigger.
He's a big dude.
You are a big dude. All right, your turn.
All right, so you're at the games And so we're not going to talk about teenagers because a lot of listeners probably don't know them. Right?
Okay.
So you're on even par with everybody. And it's the final workout. And there's 4 of you.
Oh.
Who are the other 3 you're competing against?
I'm confused. What's it?
Are these are these anybody in the world?
Anybody in the
I
world.
was talking like can be competing up against anybody.
Yeah, anybody.
I mean,
Any CrossFit athlete, any football player, any
I mean,
whatever.
you gotta go Matt Frazier since like,
Okay.
see how good he is. And I don't know. I'm not sure.
Not sure.
No.
I like that about you.
He doesn't
That's-
care, man. He's just looking
I
at
like
this.
no,
He's
I like
looking
that
at the
about
cock.
you.
That's
So
it.
like you don't really watch a lot of the competition on TV.
I mean, I watch the games.
Yeah.
And, well, I mean, I kind of watch it this year. We didn't get to watch all of it, but
Let's put it this way:
It was
I lose perspective sometimes of his actual age
Yeah.
because he acts older. We've kind of gotten into that,
Mhm.
and I mean, we were writing workouts or like taking pieces of this and like modifying it to kind of just hit a training stimulus during the games training, and it'd be like, hey, yeah, so we're taking this piece from what was in the games in your teenage event, which would have been like 2016, and this and that. I'm just like, he has no clue what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Like, he's
right.
like, the age wise, that was always one of the things where it was just always funny. Where it's like, hey,
yeah.
this is what we're training for. This is the stimulus. This is what we're trying to pull. Like, do you remember when he did this in the games? And he's just like, no. I was like, okay.
That's hilarious. All right, Colin, is there any teenage lingo that you've picked up since coaching Kaiden?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
No, I
like
mean,
you're
he's
not
not
saying
gonna-
bet or like no cap or
No,
anything like
Honestly, I
that.
have no clue what that is. That's also just not who he is. Like, yeah, that's
Uh-uh.
complete opposite personality, I think.
Yeah, all the people at school, it's
So
weird.
you don't even understand your friends at school then?
Like, I understand it, but it's like, it's interesting.
No, dude.
Yeah.
We get these teenagers and like young 20s in here, and it's like a different language. I don't know what they're saying.
Yeah.
I had to look it up the other day. Somebody texted me HMU the other day. That's what they texted, and I had to Google what that meant. I had hit me up. You know, I had no idea.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so we've established that you're a clean eater.
Yes.
Do you have a cheat meal that you go to?
I like chicken wings a lot.
What is it with chicken
I mean,
wings?
We got the air fryer and make them. I should go make like 15 of them. They're so good.
Chicken wings. Well, it's protein.
Yeah,
It is
that's right.
protein.
And he's still making it. He's
Yeah.
not going out.
Yeah, that's right.
Uh-huh.
So no pizza, no burgers, no nothing like
Burgers. I like burgers.
that. Yeah.
Where's your
Burgers.
favorite burger from?
Ooh, I don't know.
Don't
They're all
say-
good. Maddie's patties. Yeah.
Is that an Anderson thing?
They're so good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's one of our buddies that's been with the gym for a long time
Uh-huh.
and just spun out, decided he wants to make a burger truck.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's still just building the foundation of it in the area. So he's been doing little pop-ups and grilling for everybody.
Oh,
It's
awesome.
I need
Oh
to
my
go.
gosh,
I need
so
to go
good.
see him.
It's so good.
He used to have a
Yeah.
place downtown called Maddie's. So
All right, my turn. If you and your mom and your sister were to go on vacation tomorrow and all expenses were paid for, where would you want to go?
Well, where would I want to go, or like all of us want to go?
Where would you want to go?
Probably the beach somewhere. Yeah.
Locally or like somewhere far
Go,
away?
like Florida. Yeah. We
Florida.
like Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
Go fish.
Go fish.
go fish in Florida.
Uh-huh.
It's a new slogan. Come fish in Florida. Do you play video games?
No, I don't.
Wow.
Good for you,
Used to
man.
play like Super Mario a lot.
Yeah.
We still do every once in a while, but no. Oh, yeah, not really.
All right, Colin, I have a question for you. Being an ex-college football player, D1 college football player, this is a two-part question. One, if you could pick anybody from your best Clemson team year, whatever year that was, freshman through fifth year, if you could pick one athlete from that team and say, hey, come do CrossFit with me, and you think they would just completely crush it right now, who would it be?
From when I played,
Yeah, from when you played.
oh man, it's really hard. There are obviously freak athletes everywhere. But when you're talking about kind of what the CrossFit demand is, usually you're looking high skill players that are not going to be overweight or just massive human beings like myself or bigger.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those where typically I'm going to think safety, almost go to, just because they rangy, they can get everywhere. But man, I don't know.
All right. Well,
Hey, that's tough. That's really tough.
all right. How about this? Do you follow the NFL right now?
Yeah.
All right. So if you could pick one NFL player and say, hey, you're going to make the exact same salary that you're making right now in CrossFit, so, they have incentive to do it, who would you want to see come over and do CrossFit?
Man. Okay. Gosh, it's freaky. So you would want to say Saquon Barkley because he is the right limb proportion, but he's almost too thick. So I don't know. Who's a Bama quarterback that's at Philly? Jalen
Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. Yeah, he'd be the one.
Yeah. That
Body
would be
type,
good.
size, strength. I think that'd kind of be the guy.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize how tall NFL players are.
Well, a lot of them aren't really that tall. I mean, if you're looking at, running backs or even DBs, or they're not like you're on the taller end for an NFL player.
Yeah, and
I mean,
again,
some of them, like on the O line, obviously they're tall, or the D line, but
yeah,
But
most of that's skill specific too. I mean, you're looking wide receivers can range from what you would say normal, basically 6 foot to taller.
yeah.
But in reality, it's like, yeah, D line, O line is going to be huge.
Mm-hmm. I would say Odell Beckham. I mean, he's freaky fast. He's light. He's like 5'10", 5'11". That would be my choice. But you didn't ask me, so.
I don't have one because I don't watch.
All right, go for it.
But it would have been maybe Bo Jackson in his prime.
Yeah.
So, what are you listening to right now in your car?
Right now in the car?
Right now in the car.
Whatever is not going on in the gym.
Okay.
I got to get away from that space in the car.
All right.
So usually it's like Alt Nation on Sirius XM,
Okay.
or it's going to be just the weirdest, slowest country you've ever heard.
Okay. Caden, what about you? What kind of music you listen to?
Country.
Country.
Yeah.
I would expect nothing less. You are you are a Southerner through and through.
That's fine.
Yeah. Who's your favorite country artist right now?
I don't know. Chris Stapleton, I think. I'd say.
Of course. He's an old soul. You're an old soul.
He is.
Yeah, you definitely are. Here's a question for you, Colin. Are you going to compete with Chris Bull and take the throne at Fittest of the Upstate for Masters Elite?
Calling me straight out.
Yes.
We'll see how the Open goes.
Gordon,
I'll take one step at a time.
message this guy. He's got to do it. I think I would love to see that matchup.
I don't know. We've talked to each other a little bit on social media, and when we went up and did Swamp Rabbit up there,
Yeah.
we always talked about how we need to get together and train, but it's one of those where just timing. So
You
we'll
guys
see.
are
We'll see
about
what
the same
happens.
size, too. You guys are both rig shakers.
Yeah.
I would love to see that matchup.
That would be a sight to behold.
Yes, definitely. Do you think you could have beat him last year?
Last year? No.
No.
Okay.
No,
He was on it last year.
Yep.
And I mean, the events and kind of the layout of the events, I think it's one of those, obviously, that double under barbell workout with the shoulders overhead. I think I could catch that one, but after that, it'd be tough.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right. So we've already programmed to put him on his butt. Let's program the opposite way. He's going to come in first every time. What's that look like?
Any pull-up movement, pull-up, chest to bar muscle-ups, throw it in there. It's going to happen. There's no question on that. Give him a rower, give him a wall ball. And it's not that he's tall, but tall for his age, tall for his group. It's like those movements, but combine the pull-ups in there. There's no question. So, yeah, rowing, wall balls, pull-ups, chest to bar.
So now you're going to program for Colin the same thing. What's he going to go in and kill everybody at?
I mean, I could say the same thing with rowing wall balls.
Oh, for
Like that.
sure.
Not pull-ups.
Yeah. And a heavy barbell. Yeah.
I could see
What
that.
else? Any machine. For
I'll also
sure.
take the machines.
Any
Time frame. Love them.
Yeah.
How does the ski erg work out for you?
Oh, I love that thing.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's turned into one of my favorite pieces. Like, it's almost the go-to at
Yeah.
this point.
That's awesome. All right. How much do you weigh, Caden?
165.
165.
Yeah.
All right. If you could take any Olympic lift, what's your favorite, and then what's your max lift?
Okay. Well, so it used to always be clean and jerk. We used to start working snatches a lot. It might be snatch now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What are you snatching these days?
I hit 185 on Tuesday.
Nice, dude.
Or Monday.
15 years old.
That's awesome.
Yeah. First squat snatch.
That's great.
Thank you.
That's
Tell
amazing.
them what you were squat snatching during the age group.
Qualifiers?
Yeah.
115 maybe.
Wow. Okay, so it's just a lot of technique.
Yeah, so we started. I mean, I had never squat snatched before, like this year, the beginning of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And when we started working it, coming up into the open, and then a bunch into online qualifiers, and then a bunch over this summer. And it's like, it was my max in the middle of June was 160. I had 172 at the games, then 185 this week. So then it's like, it was all technique.
So what's your clean and jerk at?
Last time it was 225.
Jesus, it's great.
Yeah.
What is your deadlift at?
Oh, I don't know my 1 rep. We did 3 rep
Yeah,
or
it was
2
a 3
rep.
It was a 3 rep. the
And
other
I
day.
got 335,
Your back squat
275.
and your bench press.
Ooh, I don't know that one.
Yeah, we haven't done that one lately.
No.
It's impressive.
Thank you.
So one of the annoying things, and he knows already what I'm going to say.
Uh-huh.
Legitimately training someone this age, it's like, oh, cool, 20-pound PR every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're talking to people our age. And it's like, I got 2 pounds in
Yeah.
2 years. Like, this is great.
It's amazing, man. It's the nervous system. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
training the nervous system. It's funny. Everybody's like, yeah, I got this 20-pound PR in 4 weeks of training. No, you didn't. You could have lifted that weight before. It's just you've got your nervous system's used to having that weight on your back
Yep.
or over your head, and you've worked on your technique.
Right.
That's
Those are
right.
the two things. It's amazing. And, you are a sponge right now physically. So anything that he can throw at you to teach you technique or new movements or whatever, you do it because you'll always know how to do it from here on out.
That's right.
It won't ever leave you.
Let me ask you this real quick. If you miss a lift, like snatch per se, are you going to miss it in front of you or are you going to miss it and go over you?
In front every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I missed 185 in front and then made it the second try.
Okay.
Why?
Why? Ooh. That's a good question. I don't remember. Oh, well, I pulled it early, didn't I? Yeah.
It's amazing because like you were saying about him being a sponge and everything, the reason why I wanted to answer was like, I would think if like when you're youthful and you're young and you don't think anything is going to break you, you would just basically do it. I was kind of amazed that you miss out front instead of missing and then dump out overhead. Because I've seen people do that, and I'm like, it's amazing to me to watch them do that and them not rip their shoulders out.
Right.
But they'll go over and they'll dump it behind them.
Yeah.
And so that just kind of it's very smart because you know to dump it in front because you're not going to get it. But then if you dump it overhead, I think you'll be more reckless because you're just going to try it anyway, rip it and grip it.
Well, you've got to have the strength to get it back there first.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, this is not even rapid fire questions
No.
anymore, but I want to keep talking because now I've got more questions.
All right.
Colin, this is for you. So you've been a CrossFit coach for like 9-10 years now. So you're just as well seasoned as really any coach out there since CrossFit's such like a new sport. You see kids start soccer or basketball or hockey at 5 years old. If you were to take a group of kids and really start them young, at what age would you really want to start focusing on maybe introducing Olympic lifting? What do you think? And what do you say to the people that say, this is a 2-part question, sorry, I always do these.
No, you're great.
What do you say to the people that say kids shouldn't be lifting weights? It's going to stunt their growth.
Okay, yeah, those are that second one. The second one's a rabbit hole in itself.
Yeah.
We'll wait for that one. The Olympic lifting aspect of it, obviously most people are way more comfortable teaching cleans.
Mm-hmm.
So regardless of age, it's like the first Olympic lift people will be introduced to is a clean.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like cleans, yeah, any age. Snatches, we were teaching our 5-year-olds how to snatch in our kid fit class. So in reality, it's one of those where if you're getting into the right program, if you got the right coaches, the right setting, it's like, yeah, absolutely throw it in. But again, as long as you're knowledgeable and you know what you're doing, you're not trying to push the focus on weight. It's like, hey, drill the technique, earn the weight. Then at that point, it's like, yeah, that's absolutely the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I think it's one of those where, yes, everybody knows CrossFit gets a bad name because injuries and just push and all that stuff. But in reality, it's like if you do it right, you got the right people around you and the right people encouraging you, let alone coaching. At that point, it's like you shouldn't have to worry about that as much because the form should be the critical part.
100%.
And if they're not saying, hey, fix it, and you can't fix it, drop the weight.
Yep.
Just don't even go up.
Yep. That's the one thing that people always, I'm as a physical therapist, people hear that I'm super involved in the CrossFit community. They're like, wow, that's great. You must get a lot of business from CrossFitters. And I'm like, well, no, literally only treated one major injury from CrossFit, and that was just somebody falling off a rig and breaking their wrist.
Right.
Other than that, I've never had a major injury where somebody had to have surgery and have significant rehabilitation. It's always just like, just like anything else. You need some active recovery. You need some recovery. You might need some dry needling. You might have a muscle twinge here and there, but nobody is seriously injured. And I think that has a lot to do with, especially in this community, the coaches that we have involved in CrossFit and coaching people up or coaching people down and being very aware of what their athletes are capable of doing. So that's a testament to you and all the other coaches in the upstate for sure. I just think it's very interesting looking at Kaiden and looking at, if you looked at Kaiden right now, I wouldn't be like, wow, he's a CrossFit Games athlete. He's a skinny 15-year-old kid. I would have no idea that you could squat 275. No idea. But I think it's amazing because like I said, kids are a sponge right now at this age and even younger. If you are hammering PVC pipe technique, I just can't wait to see what these 5-year-olds in your generation, once they age up into the elite, what kind of weight they're actually moving. I don't think we've seen anything yet. I think people are like, oh, Matt Fraser, he's amazing, which he is. But I think this generation who's been around CrossFit since they were like 11, 5, and seeing if they stick with it, what they're going to do. And plus, you're going to get some of these really good athletes who are playing Division I football, who are opting out of that to go do CrossFit because they love it, So seeing these top D1 athletes going CrossFit instead of, a traditional sport is going to be really cool to see.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those where if you think about the concept of there's still time for kids to go to college, play an elite sport, Division I, whatever it may be, have an opportunity at pros, but still be able to come out of that and actually still have an opportunity in CrossFit too. Mm-hmm. I think that's why you see the Masters division going crazy. Yeah. Especially this last year. But yeah, I'm the same way. It's like, what can it do for the sport, let alone just human performance, if you want to call it that?
Yeah, definitely.
Let me ask you this question, and it kind of hits close home to me. How do you encounter people that have kind of sort of walked away from it, but want to go back into it? Like they've been able to do the weights before, but they've like taken a year, 2 or 3 off. Would you go about doing that?
Yeah, so it's one of those where obviously it's a one-on-one basis. It's an individual basis. What was the reason? What was the terms? Or obviously the obstacles behind it. But within that, it's also one of those where it's, yes, you can get back to where you were prior. And it's one of those conversations where don't expect it to happen overnight, and that's the hardest part. So usually to me, that's what the conversation leads. It's like, hey, the goal is step 1. We got to build consistency. Regardless, I don't care what the weight is. We got to get you back in the room. And then we want to make sure you're not so sore you can't come back tomorrow. It's like get 4 days a week. Put it on the schedule, make the time, make it a habit. And then over the course of the first couple of months, you're going to get right back into it. But with that, the weights and the movements, knowing, hey, yeah, I used to be able to do bar muscle ups, and you can barely do a chest to bar at this point. It's like, yeah, it's going to come back, but if you take the right steps to get there. That's usually where you see the drop-off happen because it's, let me go try that because I think I can do it today. And if it happens and it's not close and it's a tweaked shoulder, then it's a couple weeks out, and then that's just the drop-off of it.
Cool. I like it.
No, I agree with that, what you just said, taking things in steps. I think that's one of the hardest things for people to do. They see somebody like Colin, this massive giant man, doing 10 muscle-ups, and they're like, oh, I can do that, and they can't do a strict pull-up.
Right.
I've seen that come into the clinic, and you are excited about people's excitement for getting involved in fitness. That's what we all want. But just like anything else, people don't get to certain stages without taking steps. Each rung, you have to hit that rung, and then you get to a certain level. So I think that's cool that you recognize that.
Yeah, and I think, again, that's just one of the big things. And I know experience for me has a big factor in that. I've seen a ton of people come in, seen a ton of people go, and then come back in, let alone or just stay with it. And just obviously over time, it turns into really what's the long-term goal. And that's it. And it's really kind of dependent on age, but at the same point, it's like, look, do you want to be able to play with your grandkids?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
You don't need to snatch 225. Get that out of your head. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, cool. What can you do today? And how can we improve upon that? And like, the stuff will come.
Yeah, I had that conversation with somebody the other day. She's young. She's like 30. She just started CrossFit like 3 months ago. She wanted to try handstand push-ups. She hurt her shoulder. She's like, I'm never doing that again. I was like, and you absolutely don't have to. Like, there's no reason for you to do handstand push-ups if you don't want to. That's a skill. It's not functional.
Right.
We're not walking on our hands. I'm not going to walk on my hands out of this room. So if you don't want to do it, that's fine. You can do shoulder press with dumbbells, whatever. You're still going to get a good workout. You're still going to sweat, So, good example.
Yeah. It's fitness.
It's fitness.
Treat it as fitness.
Exactly. I think if more people saw it as fitness, they might stick with it and get more out of it for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I can kind of relate to that. I was coming back from a pretty big knee surgery, and getting back into it was very daunting because going from, barely walking, and then that first box jump, it was just an amazing feeling. But then still, that feeling of not being even remotely close to feeling like the athlete you were before can be very emotionally taxing. Especially when you were very involved in CrossFit before.
I agree.
Yeah, cool. Any other quick random flash questions you want to ask?
I don't.
I think we're done.
I think we're done.
All right, awesome. Kaiden, thank you for coming over, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Where can they find you on the SoCal Meds?
He doesn't know the lingo, bro. We already discussed that. The social media is Instagram.
Kaiden Myers 06, I believe.
Kaiden Myers 06. All right, cool. And what about you, Colin?
Yep. Appreciate it, obviously. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
But yeah, Barbudo 54.
Where did that come from?
It was an old member. It was basically when Instagram started, someone legit came in every day and was like, "What's up, Barbudo?" And that was it. And I had no clue what it was. It was just beard.
That's
and
hilarious.
I had this mangy, huge beard for a long time.
Good for you.
And then we had to trim that out.
That's awesome. Well, Kaiden, I think I can speak for the whole CrossFit community in the upstate. We were super excited when we found out that you made it to the CrossFit Games. I know that everybody had you on their television when your event was on. It was really cool to watch you. I never met you before, but I was super excited for you. I think what you guys are doing at Electric City is awesome. You guys are our third and fourth guests from Electric City. We had Madeline, and at the time Allison was there when she was still living in Anderson, and they can't speak highly enough about that gym, and I know everybody that visits loves it. It's a frequent place that I think people drop in when they're in the area. So keep it up. Excited to see you, Colin, in a couple weeks at Crash.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be great. Kaiden, can't wait to see what you do in the off season, and then we'll see you on the open leaderboard.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, yeah. You all heard it here.
Apogee Podcast.